Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kingdom of Kodiak. I'm Kodiak. This is episode 48, and with me today, Goldcrest. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good, good. Let's not hesitate. Let's get
Sure.
into the bare necessities. Sorry, Sin.
You're good.
How long have you been aware of AmpGuard?
Aware of AmpGuard 20, I like how I look at a calendar to do math. 27 years, 26 years, something like that.
Okay, and how long have you been playing?
Yeah, since Aware. I actually started, we had a transplant from the Duchy of Pegasus Valley at the time, Simon Sableblade. He had moved out and was my roommate in the military, and he needed a fifth person. And so I was like, well, this is dumb, but I'll sign it because I was about to deploy. So worked with him. We started with the group, and so been summer of '94 until, year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where does Goldcrest come from? Tell us a little bit about the persona.
Sure. So Goldcrest, the name actually came from an old, well, I guess I can't really not date myself now. From the old Dungeons and Dragons, second edition had a Council of Worms where it was all dragons and dragonkin and stuff like that as a campaign setting. And Goldcrest was the name based off of the G and the C, because that was my original persona name, that a friend of mine helped me come up with that campaign. And I was like, that's a pretty cool name. I'll stick with Goldcrest when I got back from my deployment.
Fantastic. Cool. Which award or achievement would you say that you're most proud of receiving?
There's so many, it's really difficult. I know you've asked this all the time in your previous one, so I try to be prepared for it. Most proud of or something like that. There's always, there's different aspects. And so I really can't pick one. I will give a huge shout out though to everybody, man, because the way that I believe Fuzz, and I don't know who else his partners in crime were, but really pulled together after my Master Rose rant and got the kingdoms and so many people from across the game. I think Rising Winds like maybe 3 plaques. So just the fact that somebody went out and did that it is amazing and probably most appreciative, and I'll have to lump those all together. And then we had another player, same thing, when they found out that circumstances resulted in me making my own award. She stopped everything at the event, went downtown, bought a bunch of supplies, and actually put together. So Elizabeth did this for me. Her persona name will come back to me, Thrakina. But she actually did one of those string art pieces with a rose and stuff like that. And for somebody to take time out of an event in response to something like that, which just also means the world to me. So again, not always the item, but the sentiment and the emotional pull means the world, and the list can go on and on and on for, a ridiculous amount of awards.
Sure. I mean, when you've been playing for 27 years, there's a lot of opportunities to have great things happen, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your favorite battle game? Typically, when I ask this, it's a type of battle game, or maybe there was one in the history of your playing time where you're like, that was amazing.
So 2 that was amazing, and both actually featured Randall. So one of the earliest games we had out at, not Sleepy Grass, but it was the place with a bunch of the cabins and stuff like that, before we went to 2 or 3 times ago with this one, but it was one of the camps, just the name escapes me, out there for Gathering of the Clans. And it was one of the first big castle battles. And there's Randall and I both in chainmail, just charging against the wall because we were able to just put our weight behind it and try and knock open the doors. So that was a really cool and memorable thing because of teamwork. And we started to see a lot of teamwork in that battle game. I get really excited about that. Then there was another one, and I want to say it was one of the Feast of Mars events, something out there in, it was definitely Feast of Mars, or at least I say that because it was at the little park by all the hotels in downtown, in that small town in California. But very teamwork oriented, and any time that you can start to implement tactics and some strategies and stuff like that, then to me, that's what really brings in the battle game and takes it to the next level.
Right.
And we were able to participate and sometimes lead some of the different charges and stuff going on. And so I guess the recurring theme there is one, Randall, two, the strategy, and something more than just a typical, shatter battle or even capture the flag, something more that it pushes for the strategy side.
Sure. Sir Francis would like to point out that the site was probably Tall Pines.
Probably.
Okay.
That's out.
And there you go. Pseudo confirmation. All right. And then while you're playing these awesome battle games with Sir Randall, what would you say is your favorite class?
Depends on the day, paladin or archer.
Okay. What about your weapon combo?
Well, archer, bow, sword and shield, single sword, whatever as if we get on the plane.
Okay, fantastic. Those are the bare necessities. Sorry,
Yeah.
Sin. Now we're going to go to the 3 questions the KOK viewers have been asking every week since week 1. We're going to start with Kron's question about Sir Glenolf, his toaster, and soda maker. It's pretty set that Sir Glenolf is going to be receiving this toaster, but what about the soda maker? Where do you stand on these things?
I stand with whatever Sir Glenolf wants. Sir Glenolf should get. I think he is one of entirely too many, but unsung hero of the game. He is that guy who will refuse 10 times to be in front of the spotlight, but 10 times out of 10, he'll bring the spotlight to make sure that it's there for somebody else to help them succeed. So, you know what? If he wants a soda maker, if he wants a soda machine, if he wants a can of soda, Glenolf deserves it.
Oh man, we're gonna have to introduce the soda machine and the soda in itself to the question. That's fine. Stillhead would like to know, what are your thoughts on bears?
What are my thoughts on bears? I don't have a lot of thoughts about bears. They make really nice heraldry pieces for the state of California. Yeah, they're cool. They're bears.
Okay.
They're
All
not,
right.
but they're bears.
I'll give you another chance here to say my name. Top 3 bears.
Grizzly bear, brown bear, and panda bear.
Okay. All right. Well, brown bear is as close to Kodiak as we're going to get, so we'll take the point for Kodiak.
Really, obviously, avoid saying Kodiak, Your Majesty, but there you go.
Well, 6 for Kodiak.
Why don't you take a moment to explain what the difference is between a Kodiak bear and a grizzly bear?
Oh, if that's not about me. Goldcrest, this show's about you. I couldn't bear to take time away from you answering questions to.
What's funny is it's taking you a lot more time to dance around it than it is to answer it, so we can move on.
Yes, thank you for that.
Actually, that'll be 1 for Goldcrest.
Oh, Goldcrest is on the board for bears. He's not even a bear. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Morgan would like to know, are bears on the moon?
I don't understand why they wouldn't be unless they can prove otherwise.
Well, there you go. I mean, we prove that they're not. Who cares what the proof of evidence is? No, prove it. Okay, awesome. Still, I would also like to know, Dragon Spine is looking into getting a mobile pool and or jacuzzi. We're just going to throw it on the back of Dom's truck. What are your thoughts?
Bad call.
Bad call.
Every time something like that's been involved with Amguard, people get in trouble. Brings no claim to the game. No.
Okay. All right. So you're probably not for bears being in the hot tub or jacuzzi then?
I'm not even a fan for water being in the hot tub or jacuzzi.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fine. All right. So let's get to your questions then. You did get 3 categories because this is a nightly chat. I broke them down 3 terms: the man, the myth, the legend. The man, we're going to talk about you, a little bit about your personal stuff. The myth, we're going to talk about your history in the game. And the legend, what the future of the game looks like. Sure. So MacGyver would like to know,
whoa,
what is it like living with Chalet, more to the point, how do you support each other uniquely, but mutually awesome during AmpGuard?
Um, we First off, it's amazing to have somebody like that at your side and choose to be your partner for life,
Mhm.
right? Um, so to have the added benefit of shared passions and shared interests is even better. We don't work well on program projects together because our styles are very different. However, we really do partner and can kind of after we get through the teaming phase or the storming phase of the discussion,
Mhm.
really help each other build on the different projects that we're doing. And how do we support each other? Uh, Emily and I, Shalay and I have been married for, shoot, I met her at AmpGuard as soon as I got back from that deployment. And so we've been together the same 26 plus years. Um, we choose to support each other, and
Mhm.
it's a deliberate act. And I think that's one of the things that has taken us a long time to learn. I used to be very selfish in our relationship, but we've chosen to be better partners. I've chosen to be to try to be deserving of her time. So I think that's the big key there is we choose to, and then we find out how best based off of our own talents, whether it's AmpGuard or anything else we do as a family.
That's great. That's a really good answer. I didn't want it to get so serious so quick, but yeah, here we are.
So I think we know that I try to be pretty serious in my presentation. So not
Yeah.
surprised at all.
Well, I'm trying. All right. So Sorrento would like to know, what are some real cool projects you're working on or got to work on in your mundane life?
So um, it gets awkward because I don't always like talking about myself, but I had an opportunity. I spent 25 years in one day in the United States Air Force, where I rose from the rank from basic trainee all the way up to Chief Master Sergeant and served as career field manager for the vehicle operations, ground transportation career field, about 5,000 folks scattered across the nation and abroad. So if it rolled on the ground for the Air Force and sometimes the Army, it was me or my team that were involved in that. So that afforded opportunities to do everything from humanitarian relief to combat and humanitarian relief during combat and everything in between. So a lot of obvious opportunities with that. Also, since then, I now work for the Department of Homeland Security, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, where we spent the last couple of years focused on, election security, critical infrastructure security, and taking care of that. Now, I'm not one of the front people for that. I am a logistician, but I make sure they've got the vehicles, they've got the supplies, they've got the resources, and that their benefits and that their facilities are all top notch, so that our cybersecurity teams can be out there and fighting the quiet war of the cyber realm,
Mhm.
protecting the elections. And on the side, I took notes. On the side, I also do a lot of D&D woodworking, drawing, sewing, foam work. I'm a volunteer election official. I saw a bunch of people volunteer this last election. Outstanding. Please keep it up. It's an awesome way to serve. And I donate platelets whenever I'm allowed to, obviously for safety reasons. So I encourage people to donate blood and donate platelets also.
Busy. You're busy is what I hear. You're busy. um, no, okay, maybe not. Lady Lightning would like to know, how do you design garb when you're making it without like our tutorial? Is there a process for you?
I sketch it out. Pretty much everything for me starts with a surcoat or a surcoat or probably a surcoat approach,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and then whatever color combinations start catching my eye. Um, I will tell you though the secret, and I'll talk about it here a little bit later if it comes up. Layers, layers. The best garb goes right up in value and appearance whenever you've got a tabard over a tunic, maybe over a sleeveless vest or something like that. So layers. But for me, it's always about the surcoat and the image that I want to present with that surcoat.
Cool. I guess I don't need to ask what your favorite kind of garb to make is. It sounds like you have one.
Surcoat, tunics to go
Surcoat.
underneath the surcoat, and a hood. I've been a big fan lately of trying new hood designs and getting away from kind of the standard coif. So I really enjoyed playing with those a little bit.
Fantastic. Lightning would also like to know what your favorite piece of garb that you've ever made is, specifically the item.
Um, whew. I really got to say probably Keladri's hood. For those that don't know, she's an amazing volunteer for the game, and the opportunity to make her master hood was great, and it really let me stretch out and try a couple different patterns and combining those patterns together. I hadn't, and she seems to like it. So she's worn it a couple of times, so that's the added benefit. But that really is the one where I started trying to branch out and try some new shapes. But I wouldn't make a piece of garb if I wasn't excited about it. So it's tough to really capture. But if I get a chance to praise Keladri or any of that crew, I'm going to take it. So
Awesome.
definitely wins.
Cool. All right. Serious, more serious question. If you could change something about AmpGuard instantly and for free, what would it be?
Code of conduct.
Okay. What do you mean by the code of conduct?
I have no.
Okay.
One of the challenges that was a constant issue, and I'm going to preface this obviously because those who are familiar with my background knows that there were opportunities and stuff like that, and or well, Goldcrest, why don't you keep working for those changes? That's a whole nother story. So please don't take any of this as a criticism, but it's something that was always in the back of my mind that I never got to. Code of conduct, I would take the perspective from what not to do and get the conversation to what you should do. And maybe that's already started. I haven't been in Circle of Monarchs meetings for a while or watched those discussions play out, but it's something that we added here in Crystal Groves, and I've shared it to some, but similar to a roles and responsibilities piece. So I encourage you to go to the Kingdom of Crystal Groves and download the report, or we can share it here. But it's very much like it based off of patient's bill of rights that you see in a hospital, right? You have the right to be respected and treated fairly, and opportunity to participate in all AmpGuard activities unless you've been suspended or banned. By the way, you have the responsibility to treat everybody with respect. I would love to have a conversation where we have to say, Goldcrest, man, you just kind of stepped over the line. That wasn't very respectful, and that kind of caused an issue. Much more than I would want to have the conversation of Goldcrest. We have to define if what you did was sexual assault or sexual harassment and any legal implementation. If we say we're all going to physically make contact with one another, if we can't say that we're going to play fairly in all things and treat each other with respect in all ways, have a nice day. So I would shift that focus, that attention to the positive stuff on that spectrum and get over there instead of trying to define if you were bad enough actor that we have to kick you out. The conversation just needs to be focused on are you good enough actor to get to stay?
Wow. Yeah, that's deep.
Think about it. You walk in, you've got two doors. One door says sexual assault is not allowed. The other door says we treat everybody with respect. Which door do you walk into?
The sexual
You'll have
assault.
to answer it.
Okay. Well, I mean,
but yeah,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So let's have that conversation. That's a fun conversation and a lot more comfortable.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, we got to do more.
Okay.
Thing. Three separate main products. One would be the player's handbook, right? That's how you play the classes in the game, and some minor rule sets, such as a new code of conduct that we want all players to know. I don't care about all the other stuff. Here's what you need to know as a new player. Here's your 25 pages or whatever, right? Player's handbook. 2, the business of AmpGuard. The player's handbook could be managed by the rules teams, the AmpGuard leadership guide, or whatever it gets called. That's how you run the game side of your parks and stuff like that, right? We can put in the awards in there. We can put all that, not corporate items, not board of directors or nonprofit organization items, but how you run the club from the game perspective. And number 3, the AmpGuard campaign setting. Before anybody's mind blows up, I will tell you, we already have an AmpGuard campaign setting. What we don't have is people that are just cataloging it. Every single one of our kingdoms has a story behind how it was formed, whether it was you put it together based off of mundane items, but we have a timeline thanks to Randall. We have our kingdoms that are set up thanks to the Circle of Monarchs and the individual people that made those kingdoms real. Just write it down and then make that available to people, and they'll add to it and they'll build to it, and they'll realize that Amcard has a very flourishing world. We just don't write it down anywhere, and we keep waiting on somebody else to do it for us. Start with the kingdoms. Identify the history of the 20, however many kingdoms we got now, 21,
22.
21, 22 kingdoms. My apologies. 22 kingdoms. Because I dissed 9 blades, right? Are they our last ones? Okay. My apologies, Canada. All of Canada. But let's write those down and just say, okay, look, here's the 22 kingdoms of Amtgard, and here's their history. They each get 2 pages. Bam, you've got a campaign setting. Move on. Okay. Number 3, I would make sure that we have conversations about what real events cost us. We did an audit here of the amount of labor hours that go into an event just during the event. You know, everybody wants to, oh, we need to do more. We need to do more. We need to do more. Everything that we do at a volunteer organization has an impact either financially or indirectly into the labor that we look to people to donate their time to. Mm-hmm. And sure, people love to do it and we entice them with awards, but I would have real conversations about how much time we are asking our volunteers to serve the game during an event for the sake of lower costs. Hmm. So look at that, do an audit of all your personnel positions that you've got hourly. And I think we will be astounded when we look at what an event costs in labor, direct and indirect. So 3 big things that I would use this and have used this to talk about.
Okay. So I do have a question following the service and the volunteerism part of that. Would you put a maximum number of hours a person was able to volunteer at an event?
I would not put a maximum amount of somebody. I would look at what labor laws are and make sure that we're not, that all of our volunteer programs and stuff like that we incentivize and encourage are fair and appropriate and legal. But I would also start to have conversations, okay, why is Goldcrest volunteering and working? We had an individual here, she worked, I think it was like 28 hours straight. Maybe she caught a cat nap here, 20 hours straight, maintaining a snack bar because it was important to her to have food available to the younger populace and stuff. But 28 hours, what am I doing as a leader, formal and informal in the game, that puts that burden on a volunteer? Even if she's an amazing volunteer and her heart was all in it and she wanted to do it, but what am I doing to make sure that she gets to enjoy the event and not have to devote so much time? And is it my vision that I'm trying to implement that's putting this burden on people that want to help me succeed? Those are the conversations that I think we need to start having as we mature.
Yeah, no, that's a really good conversation. You see the vendors at like a GOTC event that the most experience they get out of the event is they get to have the food. They never make it to the battle game. They never see a tournament. The social side of it is at their tent because they can't get away long enough. Now that's volunteer, also merchants who are making money, but it does speak to a greater issue that we need to find more ways to get them involved.
And I mean, look at Gate, because we get hooked on that person that we can trust with Gate, with that person, sorry, Francis, that I can trust with Feast. And that becomes my go-to person for all things food, right? And we do that. And next thing you know, out of their love for us and their love for the game, man, I just stole part of their event. So we got to be more careful about that, I think. Yeah. So I encourage an honest audit to see not just the money side, but the labor side that we put on people during an event.
It's a great idea. I like that. We are speaking about service, so let's switch gears a little bit. Lightning wants to know about what your master rose means to you.
I talked a little bit about before about what the award get. I will tell you that I went, and I think those that know me that I've already shared this conversation with, I went through a big spot over the last couple of years, some personal challenges and stuff, but to where I was seeing other people get recognized for stuff that I was feeling that I was informally recognized, right? Because people are like,
Mhm.
oh, Goldcrest, we love you. Hey, dude, we love ALU. Hey, we love this, we love that. But then I'd see some knucklehead get an award, and I'm like, what the hell did they do for that? Where's my love? So I share that. Very embarrassed to do that, but so the Master Rose means a lot of things to me. Um, One, it's clouded or shadowed by um, my personal battles at the time, and what I think drove to do it. But then the fact that being recognized and that the kingdoms came together, so many people came together and made me awards, and probably gave me the biggest praise on a couple of them, and mentioned how they felt that I was a member of their kingdom and all kingdoms. That statement meant the world to me. So the Master Rose was important to me for any number of reasons. Um, yeah.
Okay.
Also, lightning's awesome.
Okay. Well, lightning is awesome. That's a true statement. What do you expect to see from new Master Roses?
um, I don't know. I struggle an awful lot because I worry about demanding too much. Right. I just talked about the amount of labor and time we put into it, and then trying to identify. Or do I need to identify between what's crown, what's lion, what's rose? You know, I want to make sure there's somebody respectful and is a good example for others when it comes to service to the game. I guess that's it.
Okay.
And I try to, I haven't come up with that before this. I thought a lot about that question because it's intense, but that's what I would look for. Somebody that's enjoying the game, that's enjoying being a leader, at least in role model, if not leading a project and inspiring others to serve the game. And shows and demonstrates how to do so by maintaining boundaries. I think as I ramble and I'm talking here, but you know what? Somebody that gives that example for others too, I think would be pretty valuable and demonstrate that they know how to serve the group, but not just kick down the door, serve the group, but are strategic in the value of their time and can present that and show others how to do that too. Um, Man, I'd love to work with that person.
Right. Okay, so Lightning wanted to expand upon the same question with Master Smith. Does your answers change with the Masterhood, or are you expecting the same kind of things?
I think the same thing. It'll just be the flavor of the award, regardless on those, is pretty much going to be the same. Again, I have the opportunity. I mean, I've got a lot of experience, and yeah, that's what I would look for. And hopefully, whenever I rewatch this to see how much of a fool I made of myself, I'll jot notes down and try to, if I'm ever asked again, apply those same rules to all of them. Just change rows for whatever field applies.
Don't rewatch this because then I'm going to look like a fool too, and it's. I mean, I got to do this next week.
So many of them.
Oh, have you? Don't do that. I'm gonna fanboy on you later, and it's gonna be a problem if you start liking what I'm saying. So that was the man. Let's get to the myth. Sir Francis wants to know: do you think or believe that your career, now we're talking about your military service here, helped you become an Amp Guard leader, or specifically the one that you are?
Sure. I would say they both fed off of one another because I am, right? I applied rules such as lessons learned in the military, appearance matters, public speaking opportunities, getting your thoughts together and presenting yourself in a professional image, portraying and trying to be cognizant of how others are viewing you and letting that drive kind of a response from them into AmpGuard where it was tested, sometimes deliberately, sometimes not, and then vice versa. The public speaking opportunities, the volunteerism, the you name it. I mean, hell, I've made shirts for work based off of having the tools and the abilities and the skill that I gained doing it for AmpGuard. So I really think they fed off of each other. I will say that AmpGuard did kind of slow some things in my career early on because I wasn't studying for promotion and stuff like I should have. But at the same time, it all worked out at the end because I've been pretty successful at both and been able to accomplish quite a few personal goals and help others in both. So.
Yeah, for anyone who's looking at the screen currently, if you look over Goldcrest's left shoulder, you can see how much work he's put into his career. That's your rank sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. I know. I can see it. Michael Hammer of God would like to know.
Yeah.
What's a great piece of advice that you got early, and how did it help?
So I'm horrible about this, and Michael, I think I hate the idea of disappointing you. Man, I don't remember any like light bulb moment or something like that, and some I could say because I've got horrible memory and you name it. So I'm going to flip that, and I'm going to say, here's what I wish I had, and that was I wish I had somebody that could educate me on boundaries and the importance of them. But I am such a culmination of mentors and opportunities and books I've read and people I've watched and emulated. I mean, I don't have much that I would say formal mentorship, but man, I have taken nuggets from so many people, so many experiences and stuff like that, that they were all critical. So the one thing that I wish that I had somebody sit me down and teach me about was boundaries and the value of mental health and having those conversations. So, but again, crazy old dude now, so I can look back and wish. But boundaries and being comfortable with mental health would be important.
Okay, so that's the advice that you'd be given.
Correct.
If you were going to give advice to a new player, Kenjin would like to know the advice you'd give and to make them better in the game. What would you give for advice there?
First off, I would start off with understand your boundaries and set some and fight to stick to those, right? Whether it's amount of time that you're giving, whether it's how you're going to manage your social media presence, how much time you're going to devote on something like that. Because if not, AmpGuard quickly becomes a full-time job. And that gets very dangerous no matter what, because you burn out. It's just a matter of if it's in 6 months or 60 years. So set boundaries so that you can always stay with the game that you fell in love with, which is why you want to serve it in the first place. So boundaries. The second thing that I wrote down when I was trying to cover this was have fun with the game. Look back at the end of the day, if AmpGuard is having a negative toll on you, take a moment, figure out what that is, and stay away from that part. There's probably something doing it, but so much good and so much fun and enjoyment comes from AmpGuard. So much personal improvement, the community, so many opportunities for greatness come of it. But if you let a little bit of that darkness or that frustration or that it's a job or whatever, and you're not enjoying that, and you can start to smell it or taste it in the things that you're doing, talk to somebody about it. And let's get that part off of your plate so you can have fun with the game and rock it.
And then the last part of this is we've talked about we've talked about new people. What about that stubborn player who wants change to happen, that isn't willing to back down, is willing to put like, if it's going to be my life, it's going to be my life. I want this fixed. What do you say to that person?
We make sure that they've got the tools so that they can get the most bang for their buck. Let's talk about if it's they want to change or they want to do something. Let's talk about what a change management plan looks like. Let's talk about how to communicate that. Let's
Mhm.
talk about how to walk through that process. You and I were having a good conversation. Let's talk about system dynamics. And if you run straight into a brick wall, it's going to hurt like hell. You take a couple moments to start knocking out brick by brick, you're going to be able to travel a lot farther. It might just take you a little bit longer.
Mhm.
Horrible analogy, but I'm really bad at those. But let's talk about it, right? Hell, if you're like, oh my God, Goldcrest, that's me. Let me know. I'll send you books. I got a bunch of books. I need to move the books over there. I guess so I look smarter than put my rank there. But man, I got books on organizational change. We've got some experts within the game that I'll make sure that at least you know who they are, and maybe they can help you out. But yeah, if you're that person that's just, I need that extra level of how do I make this a reality? Let me know. Uh, don't relearn things the hard way.
Awesome. I don't know what to do with that because I'm like, well, I know what you're gonna say because that's who you are. Now I don't know you that well, but I know what you're gonna say, and then you say it, and it's still like, oh, there's the chill at my spine. Awesome, cool. Let's move on. Uh, stop it. Um, what methods would you use, or do you use, to get more engagement at your local populace? What's worked? What hasn't worked?
The thing that has worked most for me is not Saraha, or however you say that, right? It's not social media. It's not an open door policy. It's working side by side, playing AmpGuard, and spending time with the populace. In fact, let's get rid of the idea that I'm populace and you're a leader. We are amped guarders.
Mm-hmm.
Let's treat each other like that. We got different roles at different times, whatever. Sometimes you're team captain, sometimes you're monarch, sometimes you're player, right? But we're always amp guarders.
Mm-hmm.
So man, let's volunteer with people. You're not too good to hand out food. I love serving the line and getting to look people in the eyes and just thank them for coming out, right? We cannot let ourselves get in a corporate model of, well, come see me if you have problems. I'm here to solve your problems. The best leaders know what the problems are without anybody having to tell them because they're right there beside their people, right? So play amp guard, spend time with amp guarders, and amp guarders will want to spend time with you. If you have to try to convince people to come talk to you, probably because you're not talking to them, you're talking at them, right?
There you go.
There you go.
Damn. All right. Cool.
It's like I've got over 25 years of leadership
Yeah,
training.
it's almost like you've been at the military. Weird. That's strange. Damon, I believe would like to know, how do you feel about the direction Amp Guard is going in now?
So that, let me go to my notes, but I will tell you my challenge with that is I don't necessarily know what the direction AmpGuard is going in. Again, I stuck my head in the sand and I haven't been that active. This will be one of my last probably AmpGuard activities, hanging out with you. So it's hard for me to say what the direction is. What I would ask anybody is, what is the direction that AmpGuard is heading in? I would challenge that it's heading in the same direction it always had, which is a nice big spiral, right? What does tomorrow look like? Now, there's some great conversations being had, but what does AmpGuard want to look like in 5 years from now? And then what is the plan to get AmpGuard there?
Mm-hmm.
Both as a community and as a game, right? I know we do all these things to make it look like we're continuing to mature, and we are, but we're refining the current phase. We're not really working on the next one. Even with version 9, the rule set, my apologies, working on the next rule set, like, okay, we've been in this spiral before. We know that routine. But if we're going to go forward into a future, what is that future, and do we all want it? Keeping in mind that with our circle of monarchs, the AIBOD, our individual nonprofits, our current government model, that's likely going to have to change before we can start doing any kind of long-term strategic mapping as an organization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. The key is the players are in charge of that model, but setting that up, then we know that AmpGuard's in a direction. I really don't think it is has that right now. I don't think that I presented that. I don't think we've been there because we've been in such a crisis and contingency mode for so long. And I mean, if you think about it, in 25 years, AmpGuard has blown up, and people kind of look at it in snapshots in time. But back in my day when I started, it was us in Southern Georgia, a couple small fledgling groups. It was pre Neverwinter. You had to drive all the way up to Nashua before you could find amp garters. And we were connecting on the Interkingdom Guild of Scribes, a bulletin board, I guess, online. But it's like, oh my God, we found amp garters in Florida. This is amazing. They could come up to our house and we can fight new people. I mean, that was 20, I don't know, do the math, 27 years ago. So, I mean, just look at those advancements where we're at today. 22 kingdoms. I think there were 9 or 10 back then, but 22 kingdoms that span multiple countries. So we've got to look at that and say, okay, the dust is settling a little bit. Where do we want to go in the future? So it's okay that we don't know, but eventually we're going to need to know, looking at the notes. But I think it's going to continue to ebb and flow, and until we have a structure that encourages that with the stability that it'll take to get us to a good strategic goal. So there you go.
Okay. So we're going to go from AmpGuard as a whole and large goals to some of the things you did in some of your goals. Damon, I believe, would like to know, did you enjoy setting up projects like ALU and Food Fight? And she does give you credit, which were amazing and huge for the community of AmpGuard and the community at large. And what is your favorite Food Fight memory?
So yes, I enjoyed those. I will tell you that I get entirely too much credit for those because everything that has been successful that I've been associated with in AmpGuard is not because of me. It is because of the team, and that's not BS. I can give you a long list of names that were there during these the kinds of discussions when we decide that we're going to change the world or introduce something new, or that we're there in the conversations that suddenly something just grew of it. You know, Francis and Iago, and oh my gosh, I can't remember her name, but Francis, Iago, and Dane Sylvanesta, maybe? I can't remember, but Carol Davis. Really, they are the ones that started off Food Fight. Carol's the one who kicked the name around with CK. Francis and Iago, Dragonspine and Burning Lands, were already working together on a food charity. And that kind of popped up during a discussion with the Circle of Knights for Dragonspine when we're like, what can we do to better the game? Because we're tired of just talking about how cool we are or others are, and let's quit voting. What are we going to do as a Circle of Knights? And then, we just kind of built on things that were already going on. I just happen to have, I guess, the most free time. And so I was, doing stuff that came from that conversation while they did other aspects of it. But, that built up. ALU, we knew that there was a need for AmpGuard leadership, some classes and some discussions. I think, I know Goran and I, primarily Goran, but Goran and I had done them up in Alaska for a little bit. And there was little pockets, what do we do for leadership? And people saying, we need a Crown Knight boot camp or whatever. No, it's not going to work on its own, but let's plug it into the gathering of the clans, and then grow it from there. So, and again, Glenulf was there, Tie-Dye Sarah was there, the Northreach guys had my back. I've always been blessed with the Alaska crew taking care of me. So, it just kind of grew into that, and then we always kept thinking, okay, what's next? How do we do Food Fight bigger? How do we do ALU bigger? How do we grow our group? How do we make AmpGuard better? When we have these conversations, we get excited, especially right after event season. Like, we're going to change the world in the next 10 months after we sleep. But, and then that energy just goes and we figure out a way to do it. So all credit to all of those amazing people that are polite enough to let me be out front on them. But a best Food Fight feast memory, again, memory and amazing opportunities. The best memory I have is whenever Francis and Annabelle and team volunteered to manage it for me because I'm horrible with feasts, and they had to put up with me because I would be bugging them for, okay, what's our budget? What are we going to do? And then, I always wanted more bang for the buck, but I always wanted it so that it was also, um, less labor, because if you let Francis, he'll provide you the world, but he'll kill himself to do it.
Yep.
So, hey, dude, church's chicken, Publix chicken, whatever, as long as it's healthy and good to go, let's do those things so that we don't have to spend time in the kitchen, right? And we found the money to make that happen. So I would tell you, food fight feast memory. That's it. The moment that they signed on. It's not a moment. It was every year whenever I would call him up to say, hey, dude, you got one more in you.
All right. He's still got him in him.
I,
I can't keep him from helping. I try. He just tells me to do push-ups. It's not good. It's a really bad relationship. Don't knock over his coffee for anyone who's paying attention. Uh, so you kind of hinted at this in a couple of questions ago. MacGyver's going to offer you another opportunity to say it if you want to. She does ask, are you planning on bringing ALU back to events?
I'm not. We were actually working on like a whole kind of a certification model so that aspiring people would just have a checklist on how to participate in stuff, and we're going to gear it off some stuff. Um, so I hope it comes back. It seems to be really well received. I won't be doing it. I'm horrible with persona names these days, but Robin and Dallin, I believe, are the leads now. And so I would reach out to them and see what they've got to offer. They have so much to offer. But the other nice thing about ALU is the goal was eventually for it to be local kind of deal where, hey, if you want to do an ALU, work with the ALU team. Let's talk about what you got going on and then run it. I didn't run every ALU event. Keep, I think we had 2 years where other folks ran the ALU activities out there. Nothing stopping it. Just sometimes the resources that we could help out. And if you're looking for another shout out, if you're looking to set something up like ALU, you want to do the camera work and stuff like that. I don't know much, but whatever I know, I will happily help you. And if there's a way we can provide some resources, then I'll do that. But YouTube will teach you everything you know about camera work.
Yep.
Neat to know, not to be really good at it, but it'll keep you out of trouble and provide a product as good as at least what I did.
Yeah, it'll make the wagon move. It may not be the fastest wagon.
Right.
Fair enough.
Trying not to sell out Chris, but Glenolf again was the technical genius that just kept telling me what to buy and hanging blankets up in rafters and stuff for the sound work and stuff. So if you get an opportunity to give him a soda, offer him a soda and bend his ears about camera and sound work, and I'm sure he can help you out.
Fantastic. Yeah, bribe him with soda, guys. I think that's the strategy at this point. So how much would you charge to mentor a person in sewing?
Nothing. I don't take money from AmpGuard or AmpGuarders, although some may want to try and convince you otherwise, but I won't hang out there. I did make some notes though, because I will tell you that it's the exact same things for every single skill set. Okay. So first off, no charge. I try to never to take a position where I have to take people's money. So here's the best tips that I could give you and would give you just ad nauseum. One, learn the basics. Mm-hmm. I heard once it was Eric Clapton, but I don't know who it was. But the story goes, or the way I was told, is Eric Clapton was once asked, what did he know now that he wished he knew back whenever he started playing guitar? And he said that he wished that he had been humble enough to learn from those that had already traveled down those roads, that he had taken the classes and stuff like that, to learn the basics that he could build on. So I would tell you that step one, learn the basics. If you can take a class, watch YouTube, learn how to sew a straight line and how to let your machine do the work for you. Understand your machine, right? So, but learn the basics. And by learning the basics on your machine, if you're going to do that, that's going to be valuable. Two, you better make sure that your sewing machine is clean and serviced regularly. If you're not cleaning your machine, if you're not making sure that it's staying serviced, then you're going to do um, worse work and more difficult work, and it's going to reflect in your products that you're generating because it's going to show, and it will get you frustrated. And anytime you are working on an art and you're frustrated, unless that art is helping you relieve that frustration, it's detrimental to the product. So keep a clean and service machine. Same thing goes for stained glass. Make sure that your work area is nice and good to go. If you're doing metalworking, make sure that you've got everything cleaned up and ready to go so that it's safe, right? Make sure, regardless of what you're doing, make sure it's clean and service. 3, replace your needles often. People do not replace their sewing needles often enough. I know this because I was that person for the longest time. So I'm telling you, my wife would be changing out needles. I'm like, why? We've got a needle. Why do we need to buy more needles? I don't understand. It came with one. Just don't break it. Replace your needles often. Track Joann's, track stuff like that. Whenever you get your coupons, go in there. Every time that you replace your bobbin, replace it with a brand new needle. Number 4, anytime with garb, layers win, hands down, all day long. I love the Viking tunics. I love all that stuff. It looks great. I'm telling you right now, when you start layering with a hood and a cape, now you're in garb. Until that, you're just running around with a t-shirt on, no matter how beautiful it is. Get the layers. You're going to look amazing. Learn the basics. Your products will be amazing. And you'll be much happier whenever you're using it with good quality stuff.
Is that all?
That's it.
Okay, that's
Right
it.
now, if you follow those 4 things, your products will reflect. Sure. And your sewing will benefit. You will benefit because you'll have a better experience with the opportunity. And I'm telling you, the cats that jump straight into, I'm going to applicate this, and I'm going to, Celtic knotwork, and I need a shield cover, and I need this. Man, start with the basics. Do you some nice square T tunics. Learn more than just a French seam, right? And you'll be much happier, and you'll be amazed at the recognition you get for what you thought was going to be a very basic product, because the quality and the love that you put into it will show.
Fantastic. All right. Cato would like to know.
Oh, Cato.
Oh, Cato. What is your favorite memory from GOTC?
Being there. I'll give 2.
Okay.
But I mean, again, my first GOTC was Sleepy Grass in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I know a lot of people are like, that's a year. Yes, there were years before 2000. Yeah. But yeah, so, but 2 things. One, when Burning Lands presented the game and turned that over, and we saw AmpGuard International and all that grow, and seeing Burning Lands voluntarily give that gift to AmpGuard wide was a huge moment. That, if you'd been around as long as I had, and getting to see that play out was an amazing work that Kalyana and team that presented the game with. 2, seeing Northreach get its kingdom status, knowing that it's in Alaska with all the challenges that we faced. I left before a lot of it blew up, and we saw Anchorage and all the other lands, but knowing what we dealt with just in Astral Winds up in Fairbanks, and to see that everything positive that was happening at the time whenever they got kingdom status was another great, those big moments. So yeah, I'll go with those. But if you go to a GOTC event and don't walk away with more memories than you can count, you weren't doing it right.
Yeah.
Or too well.
Yeah. All right. So so that's the myth. And now
Oh,
we're going to get to the legend.
okay.
All right. To start the legend, though, I want to start with a similar question to what we just asked from Xander the Reaper. You may know him as Dom. I don't
Gotcha.
know
Yeah.
which one works better. You've been giving me a lot of like blanket statements with a lot of great people, but I want to know your favorite amp guard memory. There has to be one that sticks out that's like that's the thing.
Probably the thing I reflect on the most, and probably set me down the path of early on of trying to serve the group. And it's going to seem silly, but talking about um, our uh, small little gatherings, we used to hold Dragon's Rage events in southern Georgia with Dragon's Keep, and we would get the folks that would eventually become Neverwinter from Florida. They would come up, and then we also occasionally had a couple folks come over, come down, or a good number of folks come over from the west, and then come down from Golden Vale. But I think it was the second Dragon's Rage event. For those that know Russ, Marshawn had come out, and there were a few folks from uh, Silverwater, I think, and maybe Darkwater East that had come up, and but a guy came over and was talking to me and just telling me about how an older gentleman came over and was telling me about how much fun his son was having now that he found amp guard. His son was having all these challenges at school and never really clicked like a lot of us did in the mid 90s with
Mm-hmm.
back before Critical Role made D&D cool and all those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So um, and the guy said, he's like, look, you know, he told me he didn't have a lot of money for his son and to come out and stay for the weekend and stuff like that, but was able to do that. But then he offered us a cow. He
Hmm.
worked as a like a foreman. I don't know all the stuff, but I know he worked out on a farm. He didn't own the farm, but like his Christmas bonus or whatever was in beef and or stuff that they got there. And Dragon Dreams was Columbus Day weekend in October, and he said that was coming up and that he wanted to do something for us for giving his son a place to participate at AmpGuard, and if we wanted it, he'd happily give us his share for Christmas and or his Christmas bonus and stuff, so we could do something with it as a club. And we said no,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because but having somebody reach out to, I mean, I was a young kid at the time, 19, maybe 20, and to have an adult humble themselves like that because it was so important to them that they found a place that their son could fit in. Um, that is probably the moment that I reflect on the most. Um, that I don't remember their names, I don't remember anything like that, but just that moment is just probably the amp guard memory for me that summed up, yeah,
Wow.
what's amazing.
Wow. That's man, you just keep fucking sorry swearing, but every time you say something and it's like, oh, okay, here's a new standard that we gotta live by now because there's a cow that got turned down. But
But the key though, it's not the cow, it's the opportunity, right? And I think
yeah,
that's the thing that we often lose. We get sighted in on the elites of Vanguard, right? I want to maximize my fighting, I want to maximize that stuff. It's that Dino, and Dino is a player here, and and uh, Rising Sun Station. He's that player that we all have in every group who's always trying something new with armor, right? Rolls into Lowe's, buys a bunch of steel plates and some 550 cord, right? Parachute cord, and tries to put together Lamo armor. And you're like, oh my God, I've got to be the guy that hurts their feelings and like, that doesn't meet the rules. But it just comes out there, and in his mind he is or she is the knight, the wizard, the
mhm,
archer that they always wanted to be, and they hit the field and ah that's AmGuard, man. So you create an environment where that person can come out, where they're getting shit on at school for 5 days out of the week, right? Or they've got a horrible home life and they're lucky whenever their parents drop them off for AmGuard. When you're creating an environment for that person, dude, that's AmGuard. That's AmGuard. That's why you protect it.
Okay. Um, Lightning would like to know. You've talked a lot about this already with amp guarders in general. But what are some common mistakes that leaders are making in amp guard, and how do they fix them?
I won't talk about like common mistakes in leaders in general, but I did write down a couple of things that I think that I struggled with, and sometimes that I worry that others struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of asking for help, I think, is going to be the number one. Being able to humble yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially on those hard challenges, like maybe you've got one of your big informal leaders, you know, causing a challenge or pushing back against you, and you're the first time officer, right? And you're like, okay, how do I deal with Goldcrest, who's sitting there in the crowd just sneering and telling me I'm stupid young guy, right? Um, Instead of hiding it and something like that, look into some of my others and or offering, but how can I, humble myself as a leader and say, look, um, Kodiak, can you help me out with this challenge? I need your perspective, right? And recognizing your limitations and being afraid to ask for help because they think that they won't get the recognition or they won't be the leader. Leaders ask for help, especially in AmpGuard, because you don't have a support staff there to back you automatically, and paid. Number two, sometimes you got to admit when you're wrong. Man, I have screwed up big time. I've done some stuff in all aspects, right? That it's just like, oh, and sometimes you just got to come clean with your populace and be like, look, I did this. I thought it was the right thing. It may have been the right thing at the time, but man, it had a repercussion. I didn't expect it. We're all AmpGuard, right? We are a community. Guys, when I did it, I took us right off that cliff. I am sorry. I'm sticking with you, but we're hanging out there on the cliff. I am sorry. How do we make it better? How do I, correct my mistake? And can you again help me? And then the third one, lack of transparency, because we think we know, right? So we don't always want to share the way that our mindset, how we came about the decision. And I'm not talking we don't need to know the details of why why Goldcrest is in trouble for punching Goldcrest. That would be awkward. But just, hey, letting everybody know and having the faith and trust that you are as transparent as possible. So, but again, sometimes we want to be seen as that, or we think we're going to be that leader that is elected and everybody has to follow because you elected me, so do what I say. And we forget the humility side and the fact that, you're only driving the bus for 6 months, maybe a year, but we're all on the same bus. So we need to kind of work together here. So I would encourage that. Make sure you're transparent, make sure you're comfortable asking for help. And hey, when you're wrong, apologize. Mean it. Not I'm sorry, but hey guys, I screwed this up. Help me recover because it's important to us as a group. That's what my advice for new leaders.
It's not about me, and that's the first time I've said that this episode, but
it's actually the second time.
Is it? Well, thank you for paying attention. You can't take it's a game. It's still a game. We're supposed to be having fun. One of my proudest moments at the local level for me being the park monarch was there was this gaudy, large crown made of leather that was too tall for everyone else to wear. And I wore it every park day because I'm not taking it too serious. It's not, I'm going to turn it to the side. I'm going to wear it during the battle game if I can. And if I can't, I'm going to turn it upside down and try to fit it on that way. It's a game, guys. We're supposed to be having fun.
See, now, I agree with you. Let's shift it away, though. It's not a game. It's a club. It's a community.
Sure.
it's built around a game, but we've got to remember a game means, we play checkers and we're done, right? There is a defined beginning in it, and we can play a game again, and we set that up. But it's more than that. It is a community, it is a club, it is in many ways a business. Um, Even the smallest group to those that are recognized and incorporated. So I would just encourage you to don't quickly dismiss it as just a game, because while you and I may understand that, somebody else would use that as a detriment, right?
Right.
I'm an asshole, but hey, it's a game. We're cool afterwards, right? Or I can be a schmuck
Right.
on Facebook because, hey guys, it's just a game, and I know that's not what you meant. So I would just encourage you to maybe go for, hey, we're a club meant to have fun together, and there you go.
Yeah. Shout out to Sir Francis for referencing the Pope crown. Moving on, MacGyver.
It's called a miter.
There's right now, Amcard is dealing with racism, and MacGyver's question is, in what ways are you addressing racism at your park, your kingdom, inner kingdom levels, and do you have tips for park leaders when it comes to this topic?
Sure. First off, I mean, let's be honest. We're talking about it now more and openly than we ever have before. Amcard has dealt with racism since I first started in the mid '90s. Was it blatant and in your face? No, but did we have a diverse community? No. So obviously, old white male here, right? There were issues because most of the people looked like me. So we've had it for a while. So I don't want anybody to think that it's a recent thing or it's a fad. No, and these conversations have been growing and been necessary for a very long time. So it is not a win, but it is a breath of fresh air for many to see that that's happened. What am I doing, and what can park leaders do? Again, serious question, serious notes. I just need a minute to find them.
Take your time. It's not a problem. There's not hundreds of millions of people watching you. Roughly 12.
All right. Well, first off, MacGyver, I'm not, because I'm not actively participating, so I don't want it to sound like I am actively part of that movement. I'm not. I should be. I think I am as a person and in my personal life, but I'm not involved in the current Amcard efforts. I will tell you that, and stick with me here before you write me off. I strive to respect everyone. I recognize and I will actively talk about biases that we all must admit that we have. And I actively work to make sure that I have a diverse group of people in my within reach, for lack of a better term. I am I actively attempt to make sure that diverse perspectives, regardless of race, but diversity is part of my thought process and representation, and even have people that I have a relationship with that I can talk to balance and feed my biases off of. So that's what I do. And I hope that others do that also. And again, I'll openly talk about that. I'll beg and encourage, and I will look at a group and say, that's a bunch of people that look just like me. What are we doing wrong that other people don't feel comfortable coming up? Because you could go to one con and there is diversity in their interests, right? We have everybody wants to participate in some aspect of Amcard and the Amcard culture, but for some reason they don't feel comfortable or excited to participate in it. So I'm glad that conversation is having. Right now, I can do my best by trying to portray that and openly discuss it, because as an old white guy, that affords me opportunity to bring that conversation up in places that people aren't always that comfortable having it. Namely, other people that look like me. And we say, hey, how come so-and-so's not here?
Mhm.
So that's what I'm doing. That's why it's on my mindset. And that's what I encourage others to do. If you want to look at some good programs out there to say, hey, maybe I just struck a chord. New Zealand and Australia, their public parks program and like I'll say but like child youth programs and stuff, you can do a search for them, and they've been very aggressive in their diversity planning, and they've even got some checklists that they provided to say, hey, look, is your club diverse? And it's a nice safe thing that you can do on your own to look at it and kind of like, ooh, we might be doing this unintentional. We have biases, we have perspectives, that we can do a little bit better to make sure that we are respectful and the word will dawn on me in a minute. We're respectful and we encourage participation, but then it'll also help check you on if you have those biases or to identify your biases, and you can address them as a group. I think that's the other thing. You got to be open about the, hey, this exists. Is it acceptable to us? And once we all agree that it's not, how do we make sure that we address it as a group?
Right.
There you go. Lots of words.
Yeah. Lightning's back. Lightning has another question. Advice for someone who's trying to do inter-kingdom service.
Same advice that I have for everything.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure you're good to go on your basics. Have a strong support network, Lightning. Make sure, and I that's a tough question for me, because what does that mean? I want to do inter-kingdom service. Like that's like it's like when people say, "Well, I want to host an inter-kingdom event." Okay, it's inter-kingdom because it gets other interests. So focus on what you want to do and do it well enough that people from across the game want to participate in it, and find those connection networks and build your political capital and your trust with the player base to know that when they attend a Lightning activity, that it's worth their time.
There you go. Fantastic. Now I'm putting you in the spotlight again instead of you giving all the credit away, but you're gonna give all the credit away, so it's fine. Stillhat would like to know, how far back does your belt line go?
I don't know what the real question there is, but and just because like you want to know years, or my night was Sir Elspeth, her night was Sir Alaric, and I don't know when they started. I'm sure there's some dragon spiders there that do know. You have to look on wiki, maybe it's in there, but I would guess some of the earliest days, because we're all older now. So
Well, Sir Randall is in the chat, and if he does mention any history, I'll promise I'll swing it by you before we're done.
Oh, good. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Participate, Ben.
Thanks for participating, Sir Randall. He doesn't always give heraldry classes when he's supposed to, or when he says he's going to, but at least he participates at KOK.
He doesn't always do what? Are you throwing shade?
A little bit. He promised me a heraldry class back in the day, and then walked away from it. I wanted to learn how to do heraldry, and yeah, but you know what? We got a class from
the opportunity to throw shade at somebody who just celebrated the first time not being in AmpGuard office in 20 years. I just wanted to check that that's what we're doing now.
A close personal friend. He would understand the humor behind it. Please don't hate me for that. I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad that you started off with, hey, this is going to be about you, not about somebody else, and you took the opportunity to cast shade. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, I do what I can. It's why I run the show, as I can do whatever I want. All right. So we already talked about this off camera, about if you could get your hands on the heraldry of the knights before you in your line. She's trying to put a tree together. You had said if you could, you would, kind of thing.
Still, I think that's great, and yeah, I will find them They exist somewhere. Hell, they're probably in like old newsletters and stuff that I've got. But yeah, I will get those to you. And if not, then I'll reach out to them and get those.
Sir Randall just quoted me when you said, "Well, we're older now," and I'm like, "Well, Sir Randall's in the chat. It's true. You're only a couple years older than me. Don't get too excited about that." Anyways, not about me. Cato would like to ask.
Hey,
Uh,
Kato.
he is chasing his master crown, and he currently has 7 orders. And
Gotcha.
he's, uh, what motivation can you give him?
What motivation? Uh, Take care of people, take care of the game. Remember that awards are always controlled by somebody else. So if you ever find yourself that you're unable or uninterested in taking care of people and taking care of the game, the award's not worth it. Don't do it for the award. Be open about it. This conversation is great, and ask about it. But I care more about you and your long-term well-being than I do the paperwork and stuff like that. So be a good leader, take care of your people, take care of the game, and the awards will come. And if not, recommend yourself or call me up. I'll recommend you.
It's it is very hard to recommend yourself for awards. I'm just saying it's a current process I'm going through. I'm getting yelled at a lot for it. Not bad, but because I'm undershooting, I guess. That's here nor there, though. Um,
Sometimes it's just that it, you don't have to do a lengthy thing, but there's a lot to be said. Like, hey, GC, did you know that I'm still at 5 orders of the crown?
mhm.
And oh shit, dude, I am so sorry. And then somebody will do the research and do the work for you. Um, but we do take each other for granted, especially with those in our depth in our own circle, right? Um, how many times did I just assume that people were taken care of that were supporting me on other programs? Way too many times, right? Or, well, hey, they got knighted the other day, but I didn't know they haven't seen a roast and they're on their second roast still, yet they're slinging food with me and they're picking up trash and carrying out drunks constantly. Um, so sometimes just pulling that spotlight to you, we need to be better about it, um, because if not, bad things happen and you feel underappreciated. And that's bad.
For sure. Now, I've asked you the same question 5 different times, and we've just moved the stick on what perspective it's coming from. But aspiring knights, what advice would you give them?
Hold on tight.
Hold on tight. Okay.
I'm
Um,
excited about this question.
okay.
Hold on. Are you
Oh, I thought hold on tight was your advice. My bad.
Oh, no, no, no. That was, I'm gonna have to pull up the sleeves. No,
Okay.
very similar to Master Crown. I'm gonna start off with this. Remember that you are not in charge of the process. There are many people. The stars have to align correctly, and there is a meta game that comes into play that you should be aware of, and do what you want with it. But we have to be honest about the fact that there's meta to it. Okay. Going to blast through this because I'm sure somebody wants to go to sleep eventually. I'm good because now I'm all jazzed up. Um, I have horrible handwriting, so bear with me. Knighthood. So somebody wants to be knighthood. First comer or wants to be knighted. I would ask them, and they don't have to share it with me, but what do they believe knighthood is? Everybody in Amp has a different perspective of knighthood. That's okay. It's frustrating, but you're not going to change that. So, what does knighthood mean to you if you want to be a knight? And why can't you do that now? Because I will tell you right then and there, that's the first step. If you want to be recognized for a hardworking individual that has either mastered a talent or is of character or both, like you don't wait to do that once you're knighted. You don't wait until the 8th level order. Um, Choose to be a good person now.
Mhm.
Choose to pursue the basics so that your skills build now. Choose to be the person you want to be tomorrow. Just choose to be it now, or choose to work towards it. Right. So let's do that. But know what you believe in knighthood, and know that your understanding of knighthood will change as you grow. As you grow in the game, as awards, as you get to know more knights, you're going to constantly be reevaluating how you define knighthood within the game. You may have it internalized. I have it internalized that what knighthood means to me. It has nothing to do with Amtgard, but that's my vision of it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what you're pursuing. That's okay, but know what it is to you. If you're pursuing knighthood just so you get prestige, no problem. Just be honest with yourself about it. That don't hurt nobody. I've got a good friend of mine. They're like, hey, I want knighthood because, I want to be celebrated. And we do a really good job of celebrating knights. Okay. Also, that gave me a notice that maybe I need to celebrate that friend a little bit more. But so understand and know for yourself what knighthood means to you. That way, you know how to start gearing your choices to do it. Remember, again, that knighthood is determined by others and not just the circle of knights. I don't care what kingdom you're in, monarchs have the majority of the power because monarchs decide who gets the awards in most cases from first to 10th. You can't get your 10th unless you get your first. So sometimes it's that Shire monarch that has the most important first step. So remember that lots of other people have to agree with either that point in time that that's the path for a ladder. People often aspire to be knighted for the respect that is associated with them. They see it as the end of the road. Again, your definition will matter. My belief is that the populace should not aspire to be knights or to be respected as knights. And one of these days, I'll turn this into a better wording, so maybe Ben or somebody watching can do it. But in my belief, knights should be aspiring to be deserving of the respect of the populace. And too many times, I think that it gets looked at the wrong way, and people become knights, and they sit on their fat ass, and they tell you, people say that they want to be a knight, or hey, who are our knights? And they want to have these conversations, and they get, instead of getting to start a relationship or learn about a knight because watching the knight work, they get a long list of why Goldcrest was knighted. This is why Goldcrest was knighted. Knighthood, in my eyes, should aspire to be deserving of respect, or knights should be respect of the populace. So if you want to be a knight, work hard on things, give of yourself to others, and earn their respect. When you become a knight, because if you want to become a knight, you can become a knight. Let's be honest. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but if you want to be a knight, so here's some tips once you're knighted. Don't be a hypocrite. I will never forget, and bad memory, but I'll never forget. I was serving at another kingdom's feast. A knight and their squires, they had a bunch of them, were sitting at a picnic table. I walked over and introduced, and offered bread or drink or something like that. And the knight looks at the squires and says, "That's what a knight is supposed to do. That's how you act as a knight." And I'm like, well, you're busy sitting on your ass telling other people what knighthood is with your actions, So that person immediately lost. They didn't have respect, but I see that happen way, way, way too often, where people become a knight and they think that that is the end of having to earn the respect of the people around them, and don't sit on your laurels and talk about how hard or the kind of knight. We have a lot of people that talk about knights that should be people of character that lack character themselves. So don't be a hypocrite. Be yourself. Just don't be a hypocrite. Continue to serve the game. Make sure you earn knighthood each and every time you put it on. When in doubt, similar to before, just be you. Be the best you that you can possibly be. There's only one of you. And I know it's kind of cliche, but you want knighthood. I want you to have knighthood if it's that important to you, but I also want you to be enjoying the game. I want you to be an advocate for the game, and I want you to be respectful of the people around you. You do those things. If I were a knight still, I would vote for you each and every time.
Is that okay? All right. So we're going to talk about the either it depends on your philosophy if masterhood is equal to knighthood or if it's the next step down. How do you prove masterhood in a belt? So you're trying to get one of the four belts and you're essentially working on that quote unquote master's project. How do you do that?
Um, I think that, again, um, if I was sitting down with somebody and they asked me that question, much like you had, I would have to look at a number of scenarios.
Mhm.
We would have to look at the kingdom in question and their, excuse me, the kingdom in question and what their culture is like. Is it a single item? Is it a body of work? Is it a deliberate presentation? Is it about competitions that you've entered in? So we would have to look at that. And then we would set up a stage to say, okay, um, if in that discussion, if I agree with you, then I would say, okay, we need to set it up so that you're getting the visibility that you need. If like, okay, I think we need to work on some things, then we would just talk about that. But it really depends on all of those pieces coming into place and whether or not the officers that are in play are familiar with the work and stuff like that. So there has to be a bit of promotion, self or from others, that help you get the notice and the informal discussions that are needed for a lot of those. Again, depending on the kingdom and stuff like that. So it takes a deliberate piece of work. Um, I would tell you that if you are doing something, um, AmpGuard is typically bad judges for a lot of it, although we want to entertain that. So if you want to get involved in arts and sciences and you want to push yourself and you want it for AmpGuard awards, stick with the AmpGuard mindset. The process is going to do fine for you because you want those in AmpGuard. If you want to improve things, and by default, you're going to likely get recognized for it in AmpGuard, look for local guilds, look for local state fairs, and things like that, that you can engage others' perspectives and that talent pool. AmpGuard, going back to the spiral, we rinse and repeat a lot of the same lessons over and over and over again. Um, and we don't always build up on each other's abilities and skills and stuff like that. So find other like-minded individuals, whether it's leadership, whether it's fitness and combat, whether it's arts and sciences, whether it's ways to serve. Find other niches that you can get diverse perspectives into, and your personal game is going to improve, similar to the career conversation, and that's going to benefit you in AmpGuard. And you'll make new friends and probably learn new talents and be much better for it than if you had stayed within our close community of whatever those communities are.
Okay. Excellent. Obviously, another excellent answer. Um, so there's a candidate becoming coming before a circle of knights.
Mhm.
Outside of all of the stuff that you've already pointed out to character and achievements a person needs to have, is there anything else that you would be looking for that candidate to as a yes check to say yes to them?
Do I want to lend? Do I want to welcome them into my circle of influence and recognition? And that's probably going to sound a little bit much, but if I if I wouldn't want to be associated with you, there you go. It's that
Mhm.
simple. And one of the reasons why I made the decision I did to retire, it was okay. I don't want to participate in all that stuff anymore, and I don't necessarily want to be associated with some of those folks. Um, and it can't get them get their belts taken away, so I don't want to participate in it. So it's very much like, I guess, company or household or friendships thing. But it's like, okay, I don't want you're screwing with my credibility because you've got a white belt
Mhm.
on, and that's it. Just, I hate to say it, but that's kind of sums it up for me. But again, hindsight and everything else, 10 years ago, I would have told you something else. And a big, high and mighty, and I look for these traits and these values and stuff like that. But in the end, I work very hard to be the person that I am. And if you're going to discredit me by your existence and wearing something that I get to wear, I don't want to wear it anymore.
Right. That makes sense. Last question before we get to the most serious of the questions. We call that the funny category. Um, do you think that Codes, that would be Kodiak, has a point and that we should introduce the Gray Knight and offer out Santa Fe Grill to those who want to join our circle?
Uh, I heard Santa Fe Grill and I got distracted.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want some Santa Fe Grill?
First off, I'll answer the question. First off, open up Paladin and anti-Paladin. Quit screwing around. I've been wrong for 20 plus years. That. Two, yeah, I don't care about the Grey Knight thing. The Kale thing, I don't know where that started up, but I always thought the anti-Paladin wanted something with the ice cream at Dragon Spine. And I can't believe my heart dies inside that somebody came up with Kale. Whoever you are, you're probably the anti-Paladin.
Yeah.
Doing you a favor, and let's press. But yeah,
Okay. All right. So the funny category, we're trying to be a little looser here, but there's a lot of philosophy here. So first off, is cereal a soup?
is cereal soup? Don't know, don't care. I like soup. I like cereal. Next.
Oh, okay. Well, is oatmeal a stew?
Don't know, don't care. I like the apple and cinnamon instant Quaker, and I like the maple brown sugar, and I like stew. So why are we labeling things?
Because
Labels are bad.
well,
Labels have walls, and if you're intentionally setting yourself up to have walls, why are you doing that? Because that's the is it antithesis? Randall, throw me in a big word, but it's the worst thing you can do to a community is to build fences and walls. So quit trying to define things and quit trying to corner me to define things.
oh man, come on.
Like,
It's supposed to be the funny part, not the get out of Kodiak part. No, that's not
this is
fair.
my fun. This is
Oh,
what.
is it?
What other
Great.
questions do we have?
Uh, how did Goldcrest get so amazing?
I have been blessed to have amazing people support me. And I have done my best to surround myself by people that are better than me that I try to aspire to keep up with. And the benefit has been a diverse group of people that I love. I believe they share that love to me, and I stand on their shoulders, and I don't thank them near enough. And most of them provided questions on here. Ruth, Francis, Ben, probably half of Iron Mountains, the good half. You figure out which half it is. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, and people like you and across the game gave me the benefit of the doubt and let me share my thoughts and maybe took away a nugget from it. And for some reason, think I'm better for it. But again, I'm typically regurgitating things that others have told me that I have learned, and I just benefit from being the face piece.
Sure. You're again. Yes, that's your side of it. The side of it from a newer Amp Carter. Again, just having 3 years. The term gold standard exists in the game for a reason. It's not because uh, you're the most vocal. It's because you're the most awesome. That
So
being
gold
said,
standard, it started out as a joke that I refused to let be a joke. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. And so we made that the theme for my reign. So, but yeah, and not a bad joke, just, it was a thing that the folks in the southern uh, part of KCG, I can't remember who it was. It may have been Sydney, but somebody threw that out there. And so, like, yeah, let's do it. Let's own it. All right.
still did pop in with a question that's not funny. It could be. How long does someone need to be in the game before they should start earning high tier awards?
Um, I don't know what that means. I don't think that they are have anything to do with one another. I think if you come into a community and you're rocking and you're meeting and you understand the culture and get ingrained in it, and I mean, depending on what you're doing there, do your thing, chicken wing. We need to recognize people that are willing to share their excellence.
Awesome. Cato, he's back and it wants to know if he can get an autograph.
Sure.
Sure. Wow. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a no, and then 5 other people getting recognition for your signature. But um, that was a joke that fell on deaf ears. Not a problem. And finally, Dom, Xander the Reaper would like to know, how does it feel to be interviewed by your band stalker or biggest fan? And yeah, let's start with that. How does that feel?
Um, uh, people don't usually invite me to participate or haven't invited me to participate, or I've usually tried to duck and dive. So um, this opportunity has meant the world to me. And um, I I think our respect is pretty mutual. I've seen the stuff that you've been participating in out at Dragon Spine. Huge celebration for Dragon Spine, moving on and being a floating crown or whatever term you want to use it. Um, so many things have happened during your 3 years, and you've quickly become a leader in the game. So
Hey.
I have no problem talking to a peer. So thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the invite. And I guess Cato needs to get me an address, and I'll send. I got you, boo.
Oh, look at that. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna take a box here. I didn't start playing Ampguard until after I watched all of the ALU videos. So I didn't know what I was getting into before that. And after that, I set 2 goals for my time in Ampguard. And that was to meet Goldcrest and fight Glenn. And then at Azrael Jade's Knighting at White Sands, I got to do both. And that was within 6 months of starting the game. So I was done. I have nothing more to do in this game.
Later,
You know?
fellas.
Yeah, I'm done. Like I'm just participating because I can at this point.
I'm glad.
Uh,
I mean that. Thank you for staying. Thank you for the work that you're doing. If we don't get new blood serving in leadership, bringing in new ideas, um, Amgard fails, and I will get the opportunity to show back up at a random event in 10 years and see old friends. So thanks for picking up the weight and helping us further into the next year. Now you just got to come up with the direction and mechanism to get Amgard there.
yeah. Well, I mean, you got to see if I've got any more spoons to do that kind of work.
You'll be off King in what, month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, roughly 2 months. All right. Goldcrest, if you could just stick around long enough for me, some announcements, we'll say our goodbyes, and we'll get you off so you can get some sleep, or whoever's worried about sleep.
Okay.
What is sleep?
Whatever. Good for y'all.
Burning Land Dragon Spine members, please check out the mutual RP that we're doing for the magic shifting in the area. There's been some really great RP on there. Go participate with that. It's super fun. Dragon Spine, we got there. Fully floating crown. Declarations are up currently for the next Monarchy team. Please take advantage of that if you would like to run for office. Anyone who is listening to this, it doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter if you play Amp at the end of the month is the deadline for our opportunity to raise money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. My beard and Cato's beard are already gone at this point, and we are so close to hitting $1,500 for that donation. If you can spare the money and have the time, please donate to that cause. Again, that ends at the end of this month, the 28th, and then we'll be doing the shaving at a distance, 6 feet distance, and all that stuff. But you'll get to see the shaving actually take place. I think those are all the announcements because everything is slowing down now.
I have an announcement and a request. Will you commit before you leave the reign that you will get a 1-pager on the history of the Kingdom of Dragonspine that could be included with the other 21 kingdoms to put together that world book that I mentioned?
I will reach out to my resources, which is Sir Randall, Ezreal Jade, Sir Francis, Damon O'Bali. I will tap the shoulders and be like, hey, help me. Yes. Before I'm out of office, that will exist.
Got it. And you will take it to the Circle of Monarchs and get everybody else to do a 1-pager also.
I'll reach out to the Circle of Monarchs and why not?
Ask, compile it, slap a label on it, and then get them to vote that is the thing, and then watch it grow. And in 10 years, I'll be interviewing you and how amazing that you've done now that you've been running Amcard forever.
Oh, you spoil me with your compliments.
Again, I don't know who all listen. I don't know who will watch later. Dragon Spine, I am a dragon spiner at heart. I always have been since the earliest days. So much of the person that I've become uh, professionally, Amherst wise and stuff like that is very much because of the people of that kingdom. Congratulations. I can't be more excited for you. I love the method that was laid out. I love the professional approach to the transition. I love you guys, and I'm always here at your service. Just let me know.
Fantastic.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Goldcrest, again, thank you so much for coming on. You are technically my 12th month of 4 weeks at 48 episodes. So you are my technical 1 year, but in 4 weeks will be my actual 1 year of doing KOK. So I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you for being an inspiration. I know, you know, life and whatnot. Hopefully I'll see you in an event sometime. Uh, until next time, I've been Kodiak. This is Kingdom of Kodiak. Bye.